It's Halloween night. Fun for some, spooky for others. Whichever side of the fence you're on, it's that time of year again when looking a hot mess is a reward. And cavities, well, they just don't matter. Tonight I'll prove that you can wear a mask and brandish an axe and still be taken seriously. Hello everyone and welcome to The 30. I'm your host Joshua Short, and today we've got a show in store for you. We've got my interview with HBO's newest star, Issa Rae, coming up later in the show. We also have the man in charge of security here at Columbia College, former CPD veteran Ron Sedini. That's also later. But we begin today with a segment we call The Short Circuit. So this segment discusses college and campus-related issues or topics that warrant a discussion. Today we focus on student safety this Halloween, and Halloween is enjoyable for many but can also be very, very dangerous, especially in parties where masks are many times mandatory and can hide suspects of a crime. It's a topic that has renewed attention every Halloween, and here with us today we have Corey Atkins and Nick Amaden to talk about some safety precautions. Welcome you two, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the scares of Halloween, the dangerous precautions you should take. I think you mentioned drinking and a lot of things, but first of all, for both of you, what is the number one priority this Halloween for you all on campus?
For me, on campus, it should really just stay with a group of people that you trust. With obviously the Cubs on their way to the World Series, the city's going to be even more crazy than usual on a normal Halloween, so it's really important to be with a group of people that you trust to keep you safe and can really help keep the night as safe as possible.
And what's your number one?
Yeah, for myself, I'm going to parties this year that are hosted by some of my close friends that are more of an invite only. Last year I attended a few open Halloween parties which had their own scares. I didn't really know who was there with the masks and everything, didn't know who was invited or not. So this year I'm staying more in a close friend group. Yeah.
And I think that's important. Both of you mentioned how being with your friends can really prevent a lot of the things we see on the news, sadly. How important is it this year with everything going on in the city? The city is bustling right now. How important is staying with friends or people that you know?
I think it's very important. One thing me and my friend group do, we use Find Friends on the app on my iPhone. It has the location on my friend's cell phone, so if we do leave the party with different people or if we do go somewhere that our friends aren't with us, we can easily track. Because sometimes you leave a party for just to go get food, or maybe you met somebody and you want to go hang out with them for a bit, but you got to let your friends know because you might not know this person. That person might not be who they say they are, and you got to know where you're at.
And Nick, the importance of being at parties and taking precaution against like your drink being touched or anything like that. How important is that?
That's extremely important to me. I mean, even my mom, before I went up to college, she taught me the importance of, don't let anyone make a drink for you. Just know what's going on and keep your common sense around your surroundings at all times. Like I said, be with people that you trust, and if someone a little sketchy comes up to you or starts doing things that you don't think are appropriate, walk away from the situation and try to remain in a safe space.
Corey, you mentioned something before the show that I was quite intrigued about, was the uniforms or costumes that people wear usually don't have pockets. And so on the South Loop campus right now, you have a lot of thieves and people who are taking phones and other technology. How important is that, and what should people do to protect their belongings?
Yeah, I think it's hard because, a lot of costumes have pockets, and you have your wallet, you need your Ventra, your cell phone, you don't know where to put those things. And so a lot of people will carry purse or bags, but once you get to a party, where do you put them? And so I would suggest that you maybe plan that ahead. Maybe make the bag part of your costume, or maybe wear shorts underneath your costume so you have pockets or something to keep your belongings in. Because if not, you set that down for a second, it could be swiped up anytime.
And it's very scary because there's a thin line of knowing what's real and what isn't during Halloween. I think that's important, especially in parties that are really, really dark, I think, correct? I think that's important.
Yeah.
Let's mention something real quick about candy, and I want to go to you, Nick. You talk about searching through your candy before consuming it because you never know what's going to be in your candy. How important is that?
I mean, that's been important since we've been children, actually. I mean, my parents always made me, hand my candy over to them before I could do anything with it. So even now as adults, it's really important to make sure to know what we're consuming is safe and hasn't been tampered with.
And you mentioned Friends app. Explain a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so the Friends app, it has the GPS location of each of your friends on it. And so you can actually see where your friends are. So if my friend left, he says, oh, I'm going to run down the block and get food real quick, and I can't find him anywhere after that, he's not answering his phone, I can track him down and make sure that I know where he's at, make sure he's safe, make sure everybody's okay.
And more on the subject about being intoxicated while driving, Uber, Lyft, things like that, public transportation, I'm assuming is important.
It's very important. As students, we have venture cards, so that's free transportation for us. But obviously, sometimes it's even safer to take Uber or Lyft. And I know that can get pricey sometimes, but I think that safety is more important than dropping, $10 on a taxi to get home safely.
And actually back to Uber, because there hasn't been too many reported crimes taking place here in Chicago in Ubers, but you gotta still be careful with even Ubers and Lyft, correct?
Yeah, I would say definitely don't take an Uber alone. And it is even cheaper if you split it with a group of people. It could come out to like $3 a person. And so I feel like when you're with a group in an Uber, you're pretty safe.
You meet people at these parties, and sometimes they look comfortable, it look like they're easy to talk to, but not going home with them is important. Talk about that, both of you guys, just a little bit.
Yeah, you don't know who these people are. I think that especially in today's society, you can't really trust somebody. They can put on a nice, front, but you don't really know. So I definitely, if you're gonna go home with somebody, please don't. Maybe meet them, get their contact for later or something, but maybe meet a mutual friend or something. But yeah, it's definitely scary to go home with someone you don't know.
Yeah. Before the segment ends, Nick, I want you to give some advice, and you as well, about what should students do this Halloween. What is the #1 rule of thumb that you have for this Halloween that you can think about off the top of your heads?
Yeah, I would say for me, I just know your limit. I think that nobody wants you at their house throwing up. Nobody wants you stumbling down the street, because then you don't know. You don't know what you're doing. You're not in a really good mindset. So know your limit. Drink responsibly. Have your friends surround you, and have a good time.
Yeah. Any advice?
For me, it would just to be mindful, be aware of your surroundings, know who you're with, be with people that you trust, and don't get in too much trouble.
There you go. I need to borrow your hair, and I need to borrow that beard. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Yes.
Thank you both for being here. Coming up, what security measures will be implemented for Halloween here on the South Loop campus? That's next. And later, Issa Rae spoke with me about her new HBO show, Insecure. It premiered earlier this month. My interview with her coming up later on the 30th. And don't forget, my advice column is at the end of this show, so use the hashtag AskJosh30. You might see your tweet later on. Welcome back. Security is always a top priority on college campuses nationwide, and that doesn't exclude the large South Loop campus of Columbia College. Here with us today, we have Associate Vice President of Security, Ron Sodini, joining us. Ron, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Josh. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Thank you for coming. I know you're a busy man, so let's start off just simply with the fact that it's Halloween. It's going to be a warm Halloween. What safety precautions are being taken by Columbia Security?
Well, it's a busy weekend, Josh. As you know, the Chicago Cubs are in the World Series, and so we expect a lot of traffic in and around the streets this weekend for both Halloween and for that sporting event. And what we're going to be doing is we're heightening our presence in the area. There are a number of events that we'll be providing extra resources to. And we also know that the Chicago Police Department is adding resources as well to their normal complement out on the street. They've been canceling some days off and adding tours of duty. So we think there's going to be a lot of law enforcement and security in place.
And that's great to hear. I think you mentioned also like there's going to be cameras set up and things of that nature as well.
Well, in our particular campus, we're excited about a new development in security, and that is at the request of students. Okay. We've invested in our first blue light telephone on our campus. They're at other campuses, and we've heard from parents as well as students that they'd like to see us begin that technology. And so we just last weekend were able to have our first camera operational. Yeah. It's in the sculpture garden. It has a blue light on it. It has a video surveillance system on it, and it also allows for communication with our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week command center. So we're excited about that.
There's a lot of, as of recent in the news, clown sightings and things of that nature on campus, and the dangers of clowns and how clowns are usually connected with larger crimes. Is there any prohibitions regarding that, clown masks or anything on campus?
There are no restrictions on clown masks, and what you're referring to is a national trend. Yes. We participate in information and intelligence sharing with a number of our law enforcement partners. One of those is the state police. They put on a regular intelligence briefing. Clown sightings has been a topic of that, and there are no known credible threats involving clowns to our specific area. But with social media, there has been elsewhere and across the nation some awareness of clowns, scary clowns, inappropriately taunting or scaring people, perhaps even engaging in an act of physical violence. But fortunately for us, based on our information and our intelligence and our partners, there's nothing that we know of for our specific area.
The South Loop campus is fairly large. What are the dimensions of the South Loop campus from where to where, north and south and east and west? How large is that campus, and how large will the security from Columbia be involved in that?
Sure. Area? So we do have a pretty extensive geography. We know that we have buildings as far north as Congress and as far south as the police station down at 17th Street. And then we go up from the east side from Michigan Avenue over to Clark Street with Dwight Lofts. So that's a pretty large area, and we do have our security team moving throughout that area.
And how is your experience being a police commander for CPD? How is that translated into being one of the top guys here security-wise here at Columbia College?
It's been a fabulous transition. When I was a commander with CPD, I worked in the 12th Police District, which included the University of Illinois campus, which is even larger than ours. And so we had a great working relationship with them. And what I've been able to do is translate that working relationship that I had with the security department there and making sure that we have a fabulous working relationship with the local police in our area. Bob Klisch, who's the commander of the 1st Police District, his daughter is a graduate of Columbia College, so he's very much interested in making sure that our campus is safe, and we're in a regular communication. We were communicating as recently as last night about the Day of the Dead parade that's going to be happening on our campus tonight. Yeah. And they're going to be providing us with a couple of bike officers to serve as both the lead and the tail as that parade that we do with Jones High School makes its way through our campus. So they're great partners, and that relationship continues even though I've left the police department.
That's awesome. And one more question regarding the safety of Columbia. You know, the bomb scare that we had a couple of weeks ago. There are a lot of people, students especially, were questioning the methods of just a couple of floors being evacuated instead of the entire building. Do you have an answer why that was? A lot of students are just wondering.
So in a bomb threat situation, you know, our safety is paramount. We always want to make sure that we make our decisions based on that. And our college has extensive procedures and protocols in place in dealing with a bomb threat. We've actually had training on site with the bomb squad commander. We were able to arrange that. And so while we know that we have to treat those very credibly, sometimes bomb threats are made as a way to disrupt operations.
Yes.
And so we don't want to fall into that trap of allowing the person who is making a false threat to cripple our campus or to compromise our ability to get our business done. So Chicago Police was on the scene with that. Our security people, we reacted very quickly. We were able to determine it was a non-credible threat, involved an intoxicated person. We took some extraordinary measures of searching. We searched the campus, but we also were able to get some canines into the area. And so the procedure was to evacuate the floor where the target was made, or the threat was made, and then also the floor above and the floor below.
Gotcha.
So that's the procedure that was utilized in that situation. It was allow us not to disrupt more areas than necessary, and of course we were able to make sure that that was not a credible, that there was nothing there.
And no one was hurt, and thanks to you guys being very quick and efficient on that. Again,
it.
you've done a lot here, and you've only been here how long? A few years?
January will be my second year with the college, and it's been a great experience.
Thank you so much for keeping us safe.
Great to see you again, Josh. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Coming up, the representation of women in scary movies are many times demeaning. We'll discuss that in moments. But next, there is a woman changing the narrative for women in TV. Issa Rae is HBO's newest star in the show Insecure. It's a spinoff, if you will, from her YouTube show, The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl. Was our interview awkward? You be the judge after this. Annually this time of year, talk shows, comedies, and drama series make their fall season premieres or even TV debuts. Consider YouTube star Issa Rae a part of the TV debuts conversation. I had the honor of having a conversation with Issa Rae when she visited Chicago. Now, she was promoting her new show on HBO, Insecure, which premiered earlier this month. Take a look at our conversation. I'm Joshua Short, and we're live in the Chicago Cultural Center. We're talking to Issa Rae about her new HBO series, Insecure.
So, shawty, it's my birthday, but no one cares because I'm not having a party, because I'm feeling sorry for myself.
Describe to people, what is Insecure all about?
Insecure follows two black friends who are navigating their jobs, their relationships, each other. And they're just like, one struggles in love and the other one just doesn't feel like she's doing life right.
I love these Fendi's.
I have a problem.
Converse.
I have a problem.
I love how you just don't even care.
When you created Awkward Black Girl, did you think it would catapult you to where you are today?
No, I was doing it to put an alternative image out there, and I did it knowing that my friends and family would enjoy it, or hoping rather, but I didn't imagine that so many people would relate to it and that it would lead me to HBO. No.
What are you doing here?
I don't know. It's your fantasy. I've always been your what-if guy.
What are you doing?
Oh, I was just asking Siri where Malcolm Jamal Warner was born.
It's Brooklyn.
Do you feel you're an influence to young black women?
I feel like in the sense that I'm very much myself, and I am unapologetic about being myself now. I had to get to that point. I think that should encourage other people to do the same, and I feel like that can inspire anybody.
Oh, okay. That's it?
Well, the handshake wasn't awkward, so great, fantastic. That music is creepy. If you've watched many horror films like I have, you may have noticed that the portrayal of women is quite redundant. There's always a deviant, licentious woman who is killed off, or women just always being the victim. Today we're going to discuss this unequal representation and the potential impact on viewers. Today, Emma Lassane and Charlie Vandercliff, both Columbia students, joins us with more on this topic. Welcome to the show, Emma, and welcome to the show to you, Charlie, as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, it's Halloween time. Scary movies are a must for people, especially the little children. What is something that they need to look out for, especially for the little kids, because it starts when they're very small watching these films and they gather their mindsets about people. What is important about films right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Younger people are much more receptive to stereotypes. They have sort of a schema of the world that isn't fully developed through actual world experience.
Yes.
So some of the stereotypes, particularly, for example, of women in horror movies that smaller kids might be exposed to, can be really detrimental in helping to shape how they understand actual women in the world.
Yeah, we're going to talk about women in just a second, because that's an important trait aspect I didn't even know about horror films that really shapes our mindsets about them. Charlie, to you, what is it about horror films that make them scary? What is it that makes them what they are?
Horror films are scary because they put humans in a state of crisis.
Okay.
And I think that they provide a really good platform for uplifting movements like feminism, because when you get humans in a state of crisis, all those prejudices melt away.
Yeah, and you even mentioned Oscar So White, the hashtag that was used earlier this year. That just shows you how people are becoming more cognizant about what's being in films, correct?
Yes, and screen representation is a huge deal. And people are beginning to realize, especially with horror, because they make money, that horror films have been pandering to a preteen suburban audience.
Really? Wow. You explained the Scream Queens thing. I think I want to get to that. That's important. What is the Scream Queens? Give us an example of that in horror movies.
Sure. Scream Queen is the idea that women make the perfect victims for serial killers. That there's something about a young, submissive, docile woman who's just waiting to be killed. So you have this trope of Scream Queens in horror movies, you know, I mean, goes all the way back to Psycho. You know, these young, beautiful women isolated and killed by men who are stalking them. The idea that women are always the victims and men are always the killers.
And how does this put into context how viewers view people after they see these movies? Does it automatically instill fear into the viewers, do you think? I don't know.
Well, perhaps, you know, horror movies can be incredibly effective in scaring us, but it also, it can be really dangerous because we model our idea of the world off of what we see, you know, particularly younger people, younger audiences that horror movies might be targeting don't completely know everything about the world yet. And so when they're trying to think of, you know, how do men relate to women? How are women supposed to be? You know, this shapes that idea that women have to be these docile victims and that men are okay to be aggressors.
Yeah, and where did we go wrong with this, Charlie? Where did the problem derive with regards to the target audiences, usually being men who enjoy scary movies? Is that one of the reasons why I guess it's okay to make these ideas, to put across these stereotypes, because men are the target audience usually?
Yeah, I think at the root of the issue, it's kind of like a bogus misogynist fantasy. It comes down to ideas of control.
Okay.
And I think the root of the issue is that we have too many straight white guys like me writing and directing these films when we need more people like Emma.
And Emma, what is it that we need to do better? Like writing films, yes, being in the room while the films are being created, but what else do we need to do better as viewers especially? What do we need to do?
Well, I mean, films are in a lot of ways made to create an income revenue for the movies. You know, they're a product. So I think as the consumers of a product, not just the audience of media, but the consumers of a product, we have a responsibility to demand better representation, to say that we can't fall back on these old tropes that are sexist or racist or things like that, just to kind of get a big buck and let it go, you know? So I think it's really important to be vocal and to use all of the social media and other forms of communication that we have available to us these days to voice your opinion about these kinds of things.
And you mentioned racism. Can you, Charlie, is there a way you can draw the parallel between racism and this idea of being, I guess, the misogynistic ideals seen in horror films? What is the connection there? And now audiences are realizing this connection. They're realizing what they're watching, and they're now bringing it up in society. Why is that now? Why is it now happening?
I think it's a result of more liberal agendas finding their way to the surface, and I think that people are addressing these issues in horror films specifically because it comes down to like we were speaking to before. It's the idea of pandering.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys have to say before the segment ends? Anything that you want to tell the viewers? Anything you want to tell people who love or are fans of scary and horror movies? What is it that you guys want to say? Just that one thing that I think will go across for many viewers that they didn't know about. Because I didn't know coming into this show about the key roles and how, you know, misogynist ideals play a role in how we view horror films. What is it that you guys want to say?
Well, I think we can all enjoy a good horror film. You know, it's fun to be scared, but these larger things are societal issues that are actually quite frightening in and of themselves. You know, and we don't want to kind of make it so that we can fantasize about violence against women, and you know, this idea that women are relegated to a specific gender role on screen and off. So I think it's really important to be conscious, you know, about what you're consuming as someone who is consuming media and consuming a product that's being sold to you.
We got about 10 seconds. Charlie, do you have anything to say as well?
I would just say look into the subtext. It's all in the subtext. You need to be buying into the right kind of art.
Man, you guys, what grades are you guys in?
It's my final semester.
It's your final semester and
And I'm like a sophomore.
Dude, you guys are smarter than me. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate it. Coming up, it's back. My advice column is next, so don't go anywhere.
Through those lives, many lovers. And in those lovers, I felt happiness and sorrow. The same feelings as such the society fears to tread. Adventures beyond imagination. Wonders not of this world. I can recreate a long-gone culture with a streak of an eye. Build lives around ancient worlds. Observe through someone else's eyes, their soul. I can see the history of a nation unfold before me, and the turmoil and strife of a million people. I watch as our city builds a glorious monument to humanity, and see as time withers it away. I am a time traveler, crossing centuries, discovering new ideas and equations. I can flow through the heart, the brain and mind, and the intimate thoughts of each one. I have worked with my hands in fields spanning miles. I have saved lives, conjured demons, and rode on the shoulders of giants. I have held hands with God. I have sung with a chorus of 1,000,000. All of this by simply turning a page. Where will imagination take you?
How do you like the hat? Welcome back, friends. Tonight, before you eat more candy than the doctor ordered, I know some of y'all need some advice. Throughout the last few days, you've used the hashtag AskJosh30 to gain some advice. And we had some interesting questions brought in from a lot of viewers. So let's start off with the first question in from @MollyRosex1206. She said, quote, "My parents want me to choose between families for holidays. Any tips on how to handle the situation?" Yes, I've kind of been in the same situation. Here's what you do. You ask yourself the morning of Thanksgiving and or Christmas, who gets on my nerves more? And when you answer that question, you go to the opposite family. Seriously, that is how I get through it every single year. Ask yourself that question when you wake up. And it's also important that if you've never been with the opposing family members during a holiday, I think that's also important to gather that communication and camaraderie with your family or the opposing person's family. So I think that's important. That one question at the very beginning. Second question is from @Lombardo_Kyle. Says, quote, "I'm not happy with where I am in life at the moment. I feel like something needs to change. What should I do?" And that's a great question. I think that one, pray. Prayer will go a long way. And if you're not religious, here's what you do. You have to go and think about your life over. You got to do a recap of everything you've done and everything that you think you want to accomplish. And when you're thinking about those accomplishments that you want to attain, how do you get there? Make goals and make them attainable. And that will get you through any muck that you're in. Especially for me, what I would do is pray first, think next, and then act last. And I think that will help you most definitely. And our final question comes in from @KellyMiner. Quote, I hate my job, but I need the money. How do I get the guts to quit? Quit. Just quit. If you don't want to be there, I'd rather you be somewhere where you can be happy. And I know that you need money, and that's everybody's situation right now, but being in a place where you're not happy, that's not fun. It's like you want to do something that makes you happy. Money may make you happy, yes, but you want to be somewhere where it's an environment that's conducive to your happiness. You don't want to be stuck anywhere. Quit. It's not about having the guts. It's about yes or no, telling yourself, should I do it or not? It's not about what other people will think, because that's why you're in the situation you are now, right? All right, folks, join us next time right here on Frequency TV for the 30. Great questions. Continue to send them in. If you want to know what date our next show will be, keep it right here on Frequency TV. All I know is that our next show will air with either Clinton or Trump in office. And based on their approval ratings right now, that statement alone is scarier than this mask on my face. We'll see you next time.